Tonight, from Stadium Australia, the Anzac tradition continues. Australia versus New Zealand, the Anzac-Test, right here on the one and only Wide World of Sports.
On this Good Friday, Homebush Bay in Sydney is a hive of activity. Of course, the Royal Easter Show in full swing. And at Stadium Australia, it is Test Match Rugby League with the Australian Kangaroos playing host to the New Zealand Kiwis. Hello and thanks for joining us for our coverage of our opening representative clash in the new millennium, a game that promises to be highly competitive and very physical. Been very little between Australia and New Zealand in recent times. In fact, last year, a three-test series went 2-1 the Australians' way, the biggest winning margin, a mere 6 points. And Paul Thornton tonight, despite the fact the New Zealand's lost narrowly last year, I think they'll come here a very confident team, especially considering Test match experience is their way.
They do, Peter, and all those exciting games, these Test matches, because you know New Zealand, they play a very physical game, tough up front with players like Craig Smith and, of course, Joe Vungana. They're no holes barred, they just get stuck into the Aussies, and it depends how the Aussies handle that barrage in the first 20 minutes as to the result of the game. But the New Zealand team, it's a very strong all around the park. We've got players that have come from all over the world, from England, from New Zealand, and from here in Australia for this New Zealand Test side tonight. Richie Barnett is the fullback and captain, Nigel Vungana and Leslie Vainikolo on the wings, Richie Blackmore and Henry Paul in the centres. Robbie Paul also has come out from Bradford to play in the 5/8 role. Stacey Jones, great halfback, he's there as well. Tyron Smith, Stephen Kearney, Matt Rua, they're from Melbourne. Craig Smith, Richie Swain and Joe Vungana, that's the front row. Tony Pulatua, Jason Lowry, David Kidwell from First Division at Parramatta, big step up for him, but we know we'll handle it. And to Cecil Avia is also in the interchange bench. And Frank Endicott's flying out from Wigan as well for this game tonight, Pete.
And another player who's flown out from England is this man, Henry Paul. Last year was a star in the number 9 jersey. Tonight we see him in the centre position.
Well, he can play anywhere. He can play fullback, 5/8, halfback, and also in the forwards. He's a player of much skill, plenty of speed and power, strong defensively. They're currently saying he's the best player in the world, Pete. We'll see that tonight. I also saw him even today. He was playing for Bradford on a highlight package against Salford just last weekend. He was the man of the match. He scored a couple, set up 3 others. He's a man in the very best of form.
There's no doubt Chris Anderson will have a look at his game and Robbie Paul's very closely. Australia, a few injury problems coming into this game, but it's still a marvellous 17-man squad.
Oh, it's a very strong side on paper, and there's speed and skill all over the park here in this Aussie side. As we have a look at it now, especially in the forwards, plenty of strength up there. The fullback is Darren Lockyer, Matty Rogers and Wendell Saylor on the wings, Ryan Girdler, Sean Timmins in the centres, Brad Fittler, well, he's up there with, of course, Henry Paul as the best player in the world. He's the 5/8 and captain. Brett Kamali's the halfback. Jason Smith, Brian Fletcher, Gordon Tallis, and most impressive back row, Rodney Howe, Jason Hetherington and Shane Webke. They're the front row. Jason Stevens, Robbie Kearns, Scott Hill and Chris McKenna, the debutants there, 16-17, and coached by Chris Anderson.
There's plenty of conjecture who would win the halfback role. Kamali has it tonight. And interesting to see Frank Endicott saying that he would be the man targeted in this Aussie lineup.
Yeah, but look, he's a great defensive player. Anything he can do in attack, he can do better in defence, Pete. He's got a great kicking game as well, plenty of speed. He likes to take the defensive line on. He doesn't so much worry about setting up his outside supports. He can do that, but he loves to take them on, and he can set up plenty of tries as well as score them. And it'll be a great battle of the halves tonight between Kamali and Stacey Jones, Pete.
Do you think that the Australians can continue their domination in Test Match Rugby League?
Look, I do, but I'm telling you, there won't be much in it. This New Zealand side is very impressive. I like their forward pack. I think Stacey Jones and the Paul boys out in the backs, they'll provide plenty of headaches for the Aussies. As I said, if the Aussies can handle that first 20 minutes, then I think players like Fletcher and Tallis on the edge of the rucks might create some damage. I think the Aussies, between 4 and 6.
Yeah, I think it'll be a tight one as well. I'm going for an Australian victory. I think the creativity of Jason Smith, Kamali and Brad Fittler will prove the difference. We've got a great game coming up here at Stadium Australia. We'll take a break now and be back with all the Test action. The Aussies up against the Kiwis.
Magnificent view from the Goodyear blimp above Stadium Australia for the 83rd Test confrontation between Australia and New Zealand. Lovely day in Sydney, and it's turned into an equally enjoyable night, and I'm sure it's going to be a tremendous game of rugby league. There's the New Zealand dressing room boasting 15 players, I think it is, or 7 players I should say, that have played 15 tests or more. So it's a most experienced unit that Frank Endicott has around him this year. They were within 2 points of victory on their last meeting in the end of the Tri-Series last year. Here's the Australian room, and on the score of experience, only 2 of those players have played more than 10 test matches, they being, of course, Brad Fittler and Jason Smith. So the players have been given the instruction to come from the dressing sheds and move out onto the playing surface of Stadium Australia. The national anthems of both countries will be performed in just a few moments' time, and of course there has been already some respect paid here to the fallen of the wars that have preceded us. Nice crowd coming in. Nobody expected that it would draw a bumper crowd, but of course just across the road is the Royal Easter Show at the new showgrounds here at Stadium Australia at Homebush. Test number 83, I am correct in telling you. Australia have won 58, New Zealand 23. There's been 1 test match drawn. The crowd waiting now as the players are about to take the field. Just the 1 withdrawal from the Australian side that has been well documented, that of Andrew Johns, who was chosen in the number 9 shirt, but he pulled out due to basically being unfit. There was a story doing the rounds that Andrew pulled out because he wasn't chosen in the number 7 shirt, but he has assured everybody that that was not the case. So they will do the Wembley walkout, the 2 teams. Brad Fittler at the head of the Australian side. I think this is his 15th captaincy of the green and gold. Richie Barnett, his Sydney Roosters teammate, has captained on 5 occasions. Many millions of dollars worth of rugby league players walking out onto this magnificent arena, something that, of course, Australia must be proud and will be, I'm sure, very proud come September. There's the trophy, the Anzac-Test trophy. I don't know what it is about test match football, but it's just that tingle goes up the spine. You know that you're about to witness something very special. Peter and Paul have both been there, done that. Did you get that feeling?
Very much so, Ray, and we hope that we get International Rugby League back to where it should be, the pinnacle of a player's career. And of course, this is a one-off test this year. We have a World Cup coming up in November. So an opportunity to fine-tune in this match and also get a little bit of a psychological advantage for the months to come.
So the players just falling in to the left and right of the dais, where the anthems will be performed, and on the stage presenting Anzac mementos to the captains in just a moment will be Rusty Priest, the president of the New South Wales RSL. That's Major General Peter Cosgrove from the Australian Defence Forces, and he's just brought that magnificent contingent back from East Timor. Colin Love is there, the chairman of the ARL, and Ben Furby, the president, sub-branch president of the New Zealand RSL, is also there. We look along the Kiwi lineup. Nine's exclusive coverage of the Anzac Test match, and I hope you're having a happy Easter after day 1, and that you are joining us tonight and looking forward to this Test match as Rusty Priest and Colin Love exchange these Anzac mementos. And the New Zealand anthem, God Defend New Zealand, to be performed by the very popular New Zealand entertainer Lapi Mariner. That is coming up for you now.
President of the New South Wales Returned Services League, Mr. Ben Furby, President of the New Zealand Retired Services League sub-branch, and Major General Peter Cosgrove, Australian...
Incidentally, if I don't get a chance, the Australian anthem will be performed by Sean Rennie, a graduate from the Talent Development Project here in Sydney. So God Defend New Zealand, Advance Australia Fair, and then the haka, all before kick-off.
God of
Beautifully done. Sean Rennie, and before that, Lapi Mariner. So just now, for the dais to be removed, the New Zealand side will perform the haka, and that man, I would imagine, is Stephen Kearney, will lead them. Former New Zealand captain, Stephen, in fact, one of the youngest captains ever in international rugby league. I think he led the New Zealanders when he was 21 years of age. He'd only just played in an under-21 grand final, I think, with Western Suburbs, and the next season he captained New Zealand. He's given over that role, though, to Richie Barnett, who's playing back in the number 1 shirt for the Kiwis tonight. So the challenge of the haka for Brad Fittler and the 12 men around him at the moment. Eyeballing the New Zealanders during the haka. I can recall on many occasions they've turned their backs and walked away from them. But Andrew Voss is on the sideline. You've got a lovely night down there, and you've got a great view of it.
Yeah, Ray, terrific battle coming up. We've already sung the praises of the Paul brothers. I really think the smallest man on the field, Stacey Jones, can start tonight, playing behind a top-quality forward pack, which he doesn't have the luxury of week to week in the NRL. 19 degrees the temperature. The breeze won't be a factor. Fantastic night for football.
Thank you, Andrew. And Bill Harrigan, the number 1 man for the job, has got the job. Not using neutral referees, and I think it's worthwhile saying that they should be neutral anyway. So the green and gold of Australia running from right to left against the black and white of New Zealand. And Craig Smith from St George Illawarra is the first to bring it back. First tackle of the night. Plenty of venom. 4 of the Kangaroos milling in. And now comes away for Joe Vangana. Good yards. Made 10 of them and took it away to the eastern side of the ground, and Craig Smith wants some more of it. Second play for him, and only 3 down. Swain now, just inside the 40-metre line. 1 of 8 Melburnians out there tonight on either side of the halfway line. Kearney. Now they come away for the clear, and it's with Stacey Jones and his right foot, sending it down to bounce up favourably for Darren Lockyer. Under an injury. Oh! Matt Rogers has had an air swing at it. And New Zealand immediately go under the attack. 12 metres away from the line. And they push it away for Craig Smith, his 3rd hit up. That would be the first tackle. Now, Joe Vangana! He is over the line, and he's got it down. They will look at it via the video referee, but this big man has power to the line.
He's a great prospect, Joe Vangana. He believes he scored. I think the only doubt is whether there's a double movement involved, but he had plenty of momentum going his way. He is tackled short of the line. Does he promote the football? Well, I don't know, Ray.
Did he land on the line?
Yeah.
That's the only question I've got.
I'd like to have a look at another angle. I'm sure that we will. I tend to think this might be okay.
It looked like the ball was actually on the line before he promoted it. And, of course, it all came from a terrible mistake by the Australians in their own 50 minute. Well, no try. And a very quick decision on that one, wasn't it?
Sure was.
Double movement. And the penalty has been given.
If he landed short of the line, there is no doubt that it was a double movement, and there is no doubt.
That would appear from that angle that it definitely was a double movement. Chris Ward, the video referee tonight.
Well, we've been getting a call for quicker decisions from the video referee. They don't come any quicker than that. 37 metres out from their own line following the penalty, and play number 1 is gone. This is tackle 2 for Webke. 40-metre line. Hetherington in the number 9 jumper. We have a specialist dummy half in the team tonight. Tallis now. 3 metres away from the halfway line. Look for Tallis tonight with the inside ball from Kamali and Fittler and Smith. Tallis will do plenty of that, I'm sure. Now the captain for New Zealand, Richie Barnett. Sydney Roosters player.
And a good tactic from the Australians, kicking early in the tackle count, took New Zealand by surprise. Second tackle, good run from Bainakalo over the 20, still going.
Ah, tremendous effort by the volcano from Canberra. Down the short side they come with Tyron Smith. Fittler got him beautifully, shoulder under the rib cage. Webke gave some assist, and Joe Vunganar gets it away for Matt Rua. Rua's put down on the halfway line, early minutes of the Test match. And already great disappointment, both for Matt Rogers and for New Zealand's Joe Vunganar. Kearney to play it now. 7 metres into the Australian half. Jones puts a kick in. It's been kicked again. Came off Lockyer. That would not be a knock-on off Lockyer. And he did well to clean it up the fullback.
And another let-off for the Australians. And that, if that ball goes past Darren Lockyer, New Zealand score. The rebound, it gave Paul a good play at it, and Darren Lockyer got his body in between the try line and the chaser as Webke winds up.
Webke slammed down over the top by Craig Smith. Underneath was Matt Rua. Ryan Fletcher almost through. Pulled down by Rua desperately. There was a support player there too. Now Kamali takes them ahead with Fittler. Then back for Kamali. He puts in a left foot kick. It goes down onto the 10-metre line. The bounce is interesting. New Zealand gets it. Nigel Vunganar.
Yeah, classic kick there from Kamali, wasn't it? Left footer, he was under some pressure, but in the end, deep in their own quarter now, the Kiwis.
Now we got Smith. Oh, Joe, hasn't he put his hand up? Craig Smith, joint captain at St George Illawarra. Already he leads the hit-ups by a country mile. They've opened up a gap, and it's a forward pass. Gee, are they looking hot?
And that's the second time that they've looked to get Matt Rua on the fringe of the ruck with a little short pass, and again it was Vunganar involved. I thought that was okay. You look at the hands releasing the football, I thought they were going back.
Oh, they're so disappointed, the Kiwis. That ball, for mine, definitely went backwards.
Oh, that's
no doubt about it. They put the ball through the hands of the forwards a couple of times. On that occasion, into a yawning gap did Rua go, and he was away.
So, another big disappointment for them. Now the Australians counterpunch. Wendell Saylor tried to hurdle across the Kiwi 5'8" Robbie Paul. Now Webke. He's been strong. Mind you, it's been all defence for Australia. Now they get a chance. Kamali for Fittler. Fittler's through! Fittler's over! Well, what a crazy game we've got here. Australia could have been on the end of a couple of tries against them. And here they are, the first team to score. They've had their backs to the wall.
And how ironic is it that the man who misses the tackle is the big man, Joe Vunganar, who was denied at the other end only moments ago. Fittler all by himself, straight through. It is against the run of play to a certain extent. And what a big call, the forward pass from Vunganar to Matt Rua only moments ago.
Yeah, Brad Fittler had a lot of support on the right-hand side. The defence was spreading out wide, and he sighted a tiny gap, a little feint, little dummy, step, change of pace, and he got around the big prop. And too easy for Brad Fittler. Class act.
Well, Australia gets the first points, and they add to them. So it's 6-0. Matt Rogers converting the Brad Fittler try. We'll take our first break. Don't go away. We're back with more on the wide world of sports in just a moment. Using his own special kicking tee as we welcome you back. Restart. Viewers around the 9 network just rejoining us. Welcome back. 6-0 Australia. But I think even the most ardent Australian Rugby League fan would have to feel some disappointment for the Kiwis. Tried disallowed, double movement, and then a clean break made by them. A forward pass called, and there's no doubt it was okay. Now Hetherington, 38 metres away from his own line for Kamali to kick and clear. Long run back here for Richie Barnett. Australian chase will peg him deep inside his own territory. 7 Australian jumpers across the park waiting for him.
Yeah, maybe Richie Barnett has underestimated the kicking game of Kamali. That's twice now he's had to turn and chase of 20, 30, 40 metres.
Henry Paul. Nothing strange about seeing him go in looking for the ball and coming away from dummy half. Man of the match, I think he was, in the corresponding match last year, playing at dummy half. Now Joe Vangana
in a losing side, Ray.
They're both very good players. You'd love to see them in the NRL. I'd love to see them playing for the Warriors, actually. Sailor.
Now, New Zealand in defence come up with an unusual tactic. They actually play their halfback Stacey Jones as outside centre on the far side of the field. He's outside Henry Paul. I'm just wondering whether the Australians will aim some big men at the 2 little men who are on the far side of the field, 2nd and 3rd in.
Tallis. Webke again. Hit up number 5 for Webke, the Broncos prop forward. Fittler's kick is high, down into the corner, and it'll be a try to Australia. Matt Rogers is over. It is a try. The green and golds are in again. Vainikolo, he has completely missed it, and Matt Rogers scores for Australia.
Well, once again, you've got to come back to the class of the kicker. And Brad Fittler, it's a dynamite kick. It's a bopper. It's gone a mile. It seems to swirl around a bit. Vainikolo never had it covered, really. And the lucky bounce for the Aussies, and Matty Rogers, the man on the spot.
Well, fortune favours the brave, and really, Leslie Vainikolo never got in a position. He never looked comfortable or confident under that kick. And in a test match, like that's, well, I'm not saying it's unforgivable, but gee, it's a soft try. And at this level, you don't expect to receive soft tries.
Matt Rogers scores a try. His 4th in test match football. He's playing in his 6th test match, and his dear mum, who's battling sickness, I believe, is in the crowd watching him tonight. Here he is from 20 metres out. He's got it away beautifully. Lovely kick, Matthew. 12-0. Another look at the try.
And Ray, don't think this will be the last kick directed at Leslie Vainikolo's wing for the night. And I don't like to say it, but Leslie's the sort of player that can really put his head down after something like this, or hang the head low. He can tend to drop his bundle a bit. I'm sure Australia's going to keep him under the hammer, and Matt Rogers really rubbing it in. 4 becomes 6, and now a 12-point lead. Just on the Paul brothers, you said you'd love to see them in the NRL. It's looking less and less likely. Robbie Paul has just re-signed with Bradford for 3 years, and Henry Paul under contract until the end of next year.
Andrew Voss on the sidelines. Jason Stevens brings the ball back. He's on, taking the place of Shane Webke at the moment. Out to the 10-metre line. It was a very big kickoff. It was Rodney Howe now, one of the Melbourne forwards. And as I mentioned earlier, 4 of the Storm on either side of the halfway line. Stevens again busy. And now Fletcher made a half break. He was desperate for support. He just couldn't get a ball away. Now Jason Smith. 15 test matches, playing obviously in his 16th match tonight as Kamali gets a kick in. The charge down was quite okay. It might have looked a little bit late. It was okay. Now Nigel Vangana using Richie Barnett, and then a good tackle from the number 9, Hetherington. He's an eager beaver, isn't he? The Bulldogs number 9. Vangana again. They're just a little bit disjointed here. Blackmore gets it away, but I think they've used up 3 tackles. It was the 3rd. That's up in the top left-hand corner of your screen these days. Kearney now on 4. And they're only 32 away from their own line. So Jones gets his kick in early. And the bounce is good for New Zealand. And now Lockyer on the kick return at 12-0. blends in with Rogers. Rogers comes off the eastern touchline to be tackled 40 metres out from his own line. 8 points on the board for Matt Rogers already.
And the New Zealanders must be looking at this scoreboard in disbelief. They thought they led, would have been 6 points to 0. They made a bust on the fringe of the ruck. Everything going nicely. All of a sudden, 2 converted tries, and here's a chance of another one. Girdler inside the sailor. The cover gets there. He goes infield. Still finds support in Hetherington.
And now it's Robbie Kearns on in jumper number 15. It's Chris Anderson. Moves his forwards around off the bench. Hetherington and Tallis taken ahead. Tallis gets the ball away. That looks like Jason Stevens. He's pulled down 10 metres out from the New Zealand line.
Jason Lowry down injured. Only a 12-man line in defence.
Inside ball from Smith and picking up Fletcher. 5th tackle gone for Australia. Very close to the line. Kamali, the ball knocked down by New Zealand, and he hasn't restarted the tackle count. Lockyer is put down. The Kiwis will come away with the ball.
Yes, but it's looking quite ominous now for the Kiwis. A lot of missed tackles in that set of 6, and the defence all over the place. Plenty of gaps now for the Aussies to run through. Well, that was dead set knocked down by Smith, but deemed not to be played at.
There'll be a penalty to the Kiwis here. It's against the Australian defence. The markers interfering with the man playing the ball, Scott Hill, about to make his Test debut. Yeah, that was a dead set. Knocked down by the New Zealanders, and Harrigan should have restarted the tackle count.
Well, I disagree, Ray. The pass went into the arm of the player. He didn't play at it. It was the pass from Kamali that threw it into the arm. I think he got the call right.
Lowry now. 42 metres out from his own line. 12-0 Australia, 2 converted tries. Craig Smith. Now, it's with Robbie Paul underway. Richard Blackmore, one of the 3 Kiwis who were forced to play in their club teams on the weekend before coming down here to prepare. Henry Paul taken down. Got a late pass from Stephen Kearney. Richard Swain over the halfway line. Smith. Henry Paul, a long pass. Blackmore, it went backwards. Standing, looking to unload, eventually put down on the halfway. Vangana. Henry Paul it is that kicks towards Matt Rogers. Lockyer goes across to Hill. Lockyer's on his outside. Now he comes in. Crosses the 30-metre line. Runs into Tyron Smith. Lowry appears okay again. He was down when Australia last visited the try line. Kearns. 17 for Australia. Chris McKenna is about to come into the game.
We've got a touch judge coming in. Just wondering whether it's the elbow being raised by the ball carrier in Robbie Kearns. I think he is the man being called out.
Just listen to the report. As he's gone into the tacklers, he's lifted the arm up, and the forearm certainly come in contact with the defender's butt.
Before you go, Steve Coney does every time he runs. All right, but that's the one we've got now. Yeah, Brad, we'll keep an eye on it, but that's the one we've got now, mate. Keep him down. Don't cock it.
Yeah, that was it, the forearm, the ball carrier, Kearns. Over the throat area, we fancy. Didn't look much in it. They failed to find touch anyway. And McKenna, quick to get involved. And another Kiwi, slow to get up. It's Craig Smith this time. Now Stevens. 35 metres away from his own line. Kearns, short passing, Tallis. And Tallis down, he was looking to unload. Robbie Paul made the tackle. Jason Smith away for Kamali's kick. It bounces down inside the 10-metre line. Richie Barnett. And the kicker is the first one down there. Got a ball away. Vangana chased and pulled down by Girdler. Played quickly for Swain. Chased by Tallis. Pulled down. 20-metre line. Time in opposition half. Vastly in favour of Australia. 12-0 Australia. Fittler scored. Matt Rogers scored. Matt Rogers has kicked 2 goals. You missed the start of the game. The Kiwis have led by the same margin.
Super tackle there from Gordon Chalice. That looks like Craig Smith would have been the reason he stayed down only a couple of moments ago. Matt Rogers making good ground to take that kick on the full. And the reason that the Australians have had more time at the other end of the field is a very astute kicking game from Brett Kamali.
Here's Timmins playing right centre. Bill Harrigan has said play on. It's Rogers.
Yeah, it looked like it was raked out and 2 in the tackle.
Now this is Scott Hill. Playing lock forward these days for the Melbourne team. Jason Stevens. But of course, Scott Hill is there for a real purpose. He can fill in the back line quite easily as they put it through the hands. Timmins, inside ball for Rogers. Rogers taken down by Henry Paul and Stacey Jones, working very wide in defence as they do with Stacey Jones. This high kick is down to Vangana. He gets away from one, but Fittler moved urgently. It was that kind of a situation. Penalty goes to New Zealand.
Yeah, well, lucky Fittler was there because Vangana would have been away. He beat the first couple of defenders. In the end, it was a sloppy tackle that went horribly wrong, and Brad hung on a fraction too long, pulled him down again, and Harrigan was obliged to give the penalty. They've just fallen away a bit, the Kiwis, not running with the same vigour they were or tackling with the same authority in the first 10 or 15 minutes.
Jason Larry. Now, Robbie Paul for Joe Vangana. Centre of the ground, just inside the 40-metre line. Back to the western side. They come for Robbie Paul again. Sideline comment, Andrew, yes?
Just a minor point, Ray, but Stacey Jones just took that last kick for line after really, you've got to say, a pathetic attempt from Henry Paul the previous time that didn't find the touch. I mean, he was only about 15, 20 metres in from the sideline. It never looked like going over the sideline, so they've made the change already. Stacey Jones taking the kicks for line, and now to compound Henry Paul's problems, an error for the Kiwis.
And he was entitled to catch that. He looked back. As if to say, gee, that was an ordinary pass, but he was entitled to catch that. Australia now then. On the halfway line is Fittler. Rifles it out for good. Wendell Saylor, he's been frustrated in his attempts so far. I wonder how long they will be able to contain the blockbuster from the Broncos. Webke. Australia straining and struggling to get the ball to the 40-metre line. Stevens does that. Takes them just inside it, then gets forced back by vigorous Kiwi defence. Scott Hill now. Moves like a class act. Kamali running off his right. And then Kamali with a quick play of the ball. There's trouble here for the Kiwis. Fittler hits the 10-metre line. Puts the ball in for Girdler. They'll score Australia. No! Fortuitously, the ball has come down for Barnett. Saylor's taken it off him, and it's a line drop-out ordered.
And Wendell is filthy that Bill Harrigan blew the whistle, what he believes, too early. Lovely work from the Melbourne connection of Hill and Kamali. Great tackle from Henry Paul. Quick play the ball. This was the end of the kick. It was put into the arms of Richie Barnett. Now Wendell Saylor grabs him. There is still momentum in the tackle. Why isn't that play on?
Well, Bill Harrigan ruled that Barnett had grounded the football, and that's why the dropouts occurred. But looked on that there was a simple steal, one-on-one, and a try.
So again, controversy in the test match between Australia and New Zealand as the green and golds go across to the right, and Scott Hill is there again, having a prominent debut. Hetherington for Kamali. Kamali away for Timmins, and Timmins is 5 metres out from that corner. From Rogers and Kamali. And then for Hill, and very dangerous here, gets it away, and there's a try for the Aussies, scored by Chris McKenna. Chris McKenna, on debut, has scored for the Aussies. 16-0.
Yes, talking about Scott Hill being very prominent in his time out there. Doesn't he look like a lovely footballer, the way he moves? He slices through so good close to the line, keeping the ball alive, popping it up for Chris McKenna. The two players making their debut combined for the Australians' third.
Yeah, what a great night for both Scott Hill and Chris McKenna on debut, setting up the third try now for the Aussies. This is what every kid playing rugby league in Australia aspires to, wearing the green and gold, getting on for your first match in the Australian Test jumper and scoring a try, and Chris McKenna's done it. Well done, and the Kiwis, well, they've fallen apart already for mine, missing so many tackles.
So Matt Rogers will take his personal tally to 10 for the Test match. Australia have got 3 tries on the board. There's the conversion. We take a break. Australia 18, New Zealand no score back, with more on the wide world of sports in just a moment. Third minute, welcome back to those stations that have been in a break. And Rodney Howe takes it back to the 20-metre line. Of course, the Australians, like the New Zealanders, playing for World Cup positions. World Cup to be played in Great Britain during the month of November. Gordon Tallis in a rest period at the moment. This is Robbie Kearns. 18-0. Kamor wearing the number 7 proudly. Puts his kick down for Richie Barnett to be tackled just inside the 30-metre line. Nigel Vangana. Leslie Vainacola had a moment in the game that he'd rather forget. He put the big net out and the ball went straight through it for Matt Rogers to score try number 2. There they are on the high shot, just inside their own 40-metre line. Swain for Rua. 30-metre gain on 5 tackles. Stacey knocked back that many weeks from that horrible arm injury. You see the big brace on that left arm. Did that playing in a trivial match, really.
They really are struggling, aren't they, New Zealand? They look tired. They're finding it hard to put any pressure on the Australian defence. They're finding it difficult to get out of their own half. They've been unable to get consecutive sets of 6, and really for them to be a chance against this Australian team, they've got to have a majority of football. That's not happening. Too many missed tackles, almost 2-1.
Webke. Having said that, Peter, and I know it's a small word, but it's got a big meaning. If the Vangana try is allowed, if the forward pass wasn't called as such, I just wonder, with a lead in the sails, just what would be the situation now?
Different ball game, Ray, but look, when those things go against you, that's where your mental toughness comes through, and it was always going to be a test for the black and whites as to how they reacted to those calls that went against them early, and they haven't reacted very well at all.
Barnett. Yeah, I think when that forward pass was called against them, a few of the heads went down and they haven't risen. Vangana, the winger. Vainacola waits to take a run. Pushes away from Robbie Kearns. Takes on Brad Fittler. Takes on Gordon Tallis. And Kearns comes again. Good effort from Vainacola. Robbie Paul. Make that hit. 14 on for the Kiwis. Tony Pulatua from the Panthers. Only a youngster. Swain getting his kick away from the dummy half from Saylor. Shows it to Lockyer before he takes off over towards Rogers. First tackle for Australia. 25 away from their own line. As Lockyer goes down the short side with Rogers. Rogers steps and comes back and gives it to Jason Smith. Jason gets away from Pulatua, then tries to break through, puts a pass out the back, and New Zealand have got the ball. Played by Tony Pulatua on the 40-metre line. Australia's into the ground. From Robbie Paul, picking up Matt Rua. Rua gets a pass away. Gordon Tallis turns defence into attack. Girdler for Saylor. Saylor will be made to play the ball. 43 metres out from his own line. 18-0, Australia. 3 converted tries against the Kiwis. Through the hands of Kamali and Smith, and beautiful hands by Sean Timmins. 5 metres into opposition's area. And they work the blind side again. Matt Rogers on Leslie Vainacola.
The problems continue for New Zealand. That's Robbie Paul leaving the field, went in for a shoulder charge. Came out second best as Kamali goes centre field, shows the ball, straightens. He's tackled midfield, 30 out on the last.
He's really concussed. Robbie Paul, this kick, not a lot of pressure. Oh, Vangana's made a mistake. Wendell Sailor contests the ball. Bill Harrigan talks to his touch judge and wants to look at it.
Well, has he got there in time, Wendell? He's doing a few low fives, so he might think he has, although he's looking up at the big screens. He's not sure. A simple take. How do you miss those? Both players diving for it. Sailor, Vangana, and Sailor gets there.
Well, I think I just should reflect on a rule that if attack and defence go to force the ball and it appears to be simultaneous, a try will be awarded. In other words, the advantages go to the attacking side, and this looks almost simultaneous, maybe Sailor by a fingertip. I think he's got it, Pete.
Yeah, I think he has. I think he misses it with the hands, and in the end it was the downward pressure from his body that will result in another 4-pointer. But that's just woeful. The 2 tries,
both wingers,
gift tries, absolute presence. As I pointed out, at this level, you just can't do it.
The Sailor has struck. The Sailor man has put it down, and Gordon Tallis celebrates with his Broncos teammate.
Well, look, they're doing everything right. Look, that's a speculator from Jason Smith. It's gone 40 metres, and really, you can't drop them. I know he was going backwards, but he had a mile of time. Look, he didn't take his eyes off the football. It just went past him. He missed it cold. And then Wendell, good on him, he followed it up, as all good wingers should, and he's been rewarded with a try, but the Australians doing everything right.
From the touchline, and Rogers just hooking it away. We will take a break and then come back to Stadium Australia with the Australians 22-0 over the Kiwis. 22-0. Stevens on the carry back. Half time. 10 minutes away now.
It's still a long way away to the break, and just having a look at the results of the 3 tests last year, 22 points was the most that Australia scored in that series, and they did that on 2 occasions. I tend to think there's plenty of points left in them in this game. New Zealand, they've got to make sure they keep their line intact for at least the next 10 minutes before Frank Endacott gets at them.
Vainacola. They haven't won on Australian soil since 1959. In Sydney, I beg your pardon. Since 1959. 41 years have passed since they won a test match in this city.
I think it's 1953 the last time they won a series, so it's been a long drought for the Kiwis. We thought they were getting closer. We saw that last year. On this first half-hour performance, they really are up against it.
Kearney, that's a good ball. Henry Paul gives it to Vainacola. Good work through the hands over there from the Kiwis. And Lavia is on. Sailor sends Lockyer away. Got away from the number 14, Polatua. Breaking down the middle. Still going. Out the other side. And pulled down 30 metres away. Fletcher. Kamali for Fetler. Looking for his second try. Fittler, so close to the line. Jason Hetherington. Then it's Brian Fletcher.
Oh, if they come left, there's a 5-man overlap.
Hetherington spins it away. Kamali didn't get a catch on it. Timmins. And it's a penalty. Played an advantage. And given the penalty to Australia.
Well, Brad Fittler saying he was pointing at the post. But
it's over the line for Jason Stevens, but he's lost it. Sorry, Peter.
No, I was just saying Fittler was pointing at the post, but it wasn't for the kick. I think he was just telling Jason Stevens where to put the football down.
Well, what a shame it wasn't a try on the end of that movement from Australia, because the run by Darren Lockyer deserved it. And also the follow-up from Brad Fittler. Excellent stuff there from the Australians, the way they're counter-attacking from these kicks. And once again, poor defence from the Kiwis.
Pulatua for Stacey Jones, and then Henry Paul, catch and pass. Vainikolo on the eastern side of the ground, takes the Rogers tackle, uses Paul again on the outside. So Henry plays the ball. What's the story on Robbie Paul, Andrew?
Yeah, Robbie Paul still in the dressing room at the moment, suffering from concussion as we watch this break again from Darren Lockyer. Just sensational play. Ray, what a contrast in the Test debutants tonight. I mean, Scott Hill and Chris McKenna are probably thinking, how long's this been going on? What about young Tessessa Lavia? He comes into the match with his side trailing by 22 points to 0.
Stacey Jones.
Well, I know they're a long way behind the New Zealanders, but they've got to go in with a mentality now that it is 0-all and start again. And that means that you can't just be throwing passes willy-nilly, trying to get the miracle ball away, trying to manufacture the big play. You've just got to start again and work away and hopefully chip away at this big lead as Kamali runs to the line. Sailor on the inside, good cover, coming across from Pulatua.
Smith. Nigel Vangana. Lavia. Craig Smith. Again, Craig Smith is slow to rise. Their problems, as I said earlier, they're mounting minute by minute. Robbie Paul's in trouble. Craig Smith's in trouble. Richard Swain about to be made to play the ball just into the Australian half.
Well, Craig Smith is still down, Ray, as Stacey Jones from dummy half finds a little bit of space in behind the line. Here comes Lockyer.
Lockyer counter-punching as he did just a couple of minutes ago. Sean Timmins now. Rodney Howard. Under 5 minutes to the half-time break. Webke. Tallis angling back to the short side. Then back for Girdler. And Girdler wrestled down by Craig Smith. Courageous effort by Smith. There's no doubt that he's playing wounded as Kamali puts a kick in, but it's too deep. 20 for the restart. 22-0 Australia over New Zealand. Kearney. Jason Lowry really swallowed up in the defence there of Howe and Fletcher. Vangana. There's Craig back on the bench. Stacey Jones unloads to try and promote his captain. Barnett does that. He'll get a bounce, will he? Now he puts it on the boot again. Sailor goes across and cleans it up.
Yeah, better play from the Kiwis. They've got to try something different at 22 block down. And Stacey Jones, he's really come alive the last 5 minutes, trying everything. And well supported by his captain there. But the Australians, they've done everything right. Their attack's been good. Their defence has been just terrific. They sprinted back into their defensive line as quick as they've come back up into it. It's been good stuff from the Aussies.
It's good work by Matt Rogers to keep that ball in play, to keep it alive. But there's the knock-on eventually that will put a scrum down 40 metres away from the Australian line. Knock on by Kamali. Rogers here, it's gone, and he gets a bat on it and keeps it in play. And then that. Just a little window for the Kiwis before half-time. Richard Blackmore. Lowry. Jones. Got a pass away to Swain, and then for Lowry. Lowry out the back for Swain. Scooped away off the ground for Vangana. And Big Joe is pulled down 22 metres out by Scott Hill. Stephen Kearney. Matt Rua. Jones puts a kick back, and here's Kearney. It's a chance, but Sailor's there again. Well, he's been magnificent, Wendell. Just cleaning up. Real opportunities for the Kiwis. Driving defence.
Yeah, plan moved here. Kick for Stephen Kearney. It's pushed back by the Australians, Gordon Tallis, and Wendell Sailor, the right man in the right place.
Tallis, he's lost it. And it's a penalty. 2 men in the tackle, ball raked out. The Australians finding the line. Andrew on the sideline, yes?
Yeah, just quickly, Ray, an interesting point. I just look off to my right. David Kidwell hasn't even had a stretch yet. It's interesting when the side has been really struggling in this first half that Frank Endicott has only used 3 of his replacements. David Kidwell still fresh, waiting for a start.
Webke now centering the play for Jason Smith, and then Brett Kamali. Now Brad Fittler. Long ball for Darren Lockyer. 12 metres away from the line on the eastern side. Rogers for McKenna. Try scorer. Losing the ball. Solid tackle. One of the New Zealanders is in trouble here. It's Matt Rua. Matt Rua unconscious. And they get his mouth guard out. He's obviously gone in awkwardly. Again, second tackler in, and he's picked up the hip of McKenna, and he was really gone before he hit the ground. But the good news is he's up now. So they've really got some players in trouble now. Just seconds away from halftime. Lowry. Barnett. That should be that play that's just starting now. Should be the last play of the first half. There's the hooter in the background. Ball with Rogers across the sideline. So Australia, a dominating first half of Test match football. 22 points to 0. He's been brilliant, Kamali. Fittler has peppered them, driven them crazy. 22 to 0. As we take a break, Peter Sterling and Paul Harrigan will come back and review the highlights from the first half on the Wide World of Sports.
Stadium Australia. At the half-time break, the Aussies leading the Kiwis 22 points to nil. A dominant first 40 minutes, and the home side had plenty of possession to do so. Good amount of football, 25 uses, but so too the Kiwis, 22 times they had the ball, couldn't break the Australian line with all of that footy. And you've got to say that their biggest problem, the missed tackles, 18 up against 9, 2-1, and they really have paid the penalty, most notably on the scoreboard. And joining us at half-time, former Australian representative Paul Harrigan. Not the kind of start we expected in this game. Everybody was saying the Kiwis would come out and be so strong the first 20 and 30 minutes. How have you seen it?
Well, they were the first 10 or 15. They played really well and were unlucky with a couple of incidents. But to me, I know their preparations were poor because of the English connection coming over late, and I think that's affected them. It also looks that they've tried to get too many training sessions in, crammed in at one time, because they look a little bit leg weary after the 12 or the 15-minute mark. They really started to struggle with their fitness, I thought.
It was so important for them to get the good start, and after only 2 minutes, it looked as though they'd got the dream start after a Matt Rogers mistake. Big Joe Vungana looked like he'd scored, but the video referee said no.
Yeah, that's right. It was very close, and as you can see here, Big Joe absolutely storming onto the ball, wrestling 2 or 3 guys, and it was probably a fair call because the ball did touch first in the field of play, but I tell you what, his momentum did carry him over.
I do think that the referee got it right because he does promote the football after it stops. You can see the movement.
That shows it very clearly there. But unlucky, he had a pretty good game in the first 10 minutes. Unlucky with a couple of other passes that he done, which made clear breaks, which was pulled back.
Well, speaking of one of those passes, he put Matt Rue away down on his own 20-metre line. It was called back. That was only 2 or 3 minutes later. In the next set of 6, we see Brad Fittler score a pretty soft try.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately for Joe, he was involved with that because he did miss the tackle, come out of the line a little bit. You can see here Brett Kamali, who's had a great game, particularly with the kicking game, and Fittler too, but just sheer brilliance there and brushed off Big Joe Vagana. I've got to say the ground is a little bit wet, and Joe lost his footing there, and I think with a couple of other tries that's been happening tonight, the ball's also played its part with being dewy.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether that was the case with Leslie Vainicolo presenting the Australians with a gift 4-pointer. I must say that the Aussie kicking game has been first class. They've picked up a lot of ground, played good field position, but really at test level, you can't score tries like this.
No, you should be able to, but as I said, the grass is a bit slippery. I thought he lost his foot there a little bit, but another great kick. Well, actually, it was only a standing kick. It went straight down his throat. And as you can see here, it would have been caught in the end goal. It would have been a restart from the 22. But look, Matt Rogers, Johnny on the spot. He's had a fantastic game. But what's your thoughts on that? It should be caught.
Yeah, and to make matters worse, he did convert that from a fairly wide angle as well. Now, I know how you would have felt making your Test debut. It's a great time for you, amazing feeling. And I suppose to be involved in a try and score a try is just beyond your expectations, and we see both McKenna and Scott Hill put on the next one, the 2 debutants combining.
Yeah, did Scotty Hill. He had a huge impact as soon as he came on the game, and this try was really superb. You can see a long pass there from Matt Rogers, Kamali straight out to Scott Hill, and he's just brilliant. He's breakthrough 2 tackles there, a nice late ball to Chris McKenna, and he's put it over, and as your boy said in the call, it's a great feeling.
That was the Aussies' 3rd try, one more before the half-time break in the 29th minute. Again, a fairly standard kick put up, and unfortunately Nigel Vungana unable to defuse the bomb, and it would have been a restart from the 20-metre line. Wendell Saylor, who really has put himself in the right position, like he's preying on a mistake.
Played a great game. He's cleaned up on every department too. He's played a great game, but Jason Smith was probably an average kick. It went straight into the end goal, and unfortunately he's just made a mess of it. Again, I don't want to pay too much about the wet and how dewy it is, but that ball was slippery. It was over his head, but should have been taken at Test level. And Wendell Saylor, he's cleaned up everything today. He's been Johnny on the spot.
Well, Paul Boyton has pointed out that the Australians have done everything right, and you've got to say that, if you're a player chasing through and that, you believe that Nigel is going to catch that football.
He probably had no right to chase that hard, Wendell.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, what do the coaches say at halftime? I know Andrew Voss will get us a report, but especially Frank Endicott, what does he say at 22-0 down in a Test?
I think you said it in a nutshell when you spoke before about they've got to start again. It's hard mentally to say, just forget about the points, but somehow you've got to graft back into the game, and just as basic as completing just 5 sets in a row, and we'll build a base and we'll go from there, because I tell you, the big plays are not going to work, and you see them now in the dressing sheds. They look a little bit downhearted, a few heads down there, but they've just got to regroup. They have got jumpers on the back that means a lot to them, and I think they can turn it around a little bit, but Australia's playing too well.
Yeah, I think the first 10 minutes are crucial time for the Kiwis in this second half. We'll take a break very shortly. 22-0 here at half-time, but firstly a reminder what's coming up on Channel 9's Wide World of Sports.
Welcome back, everybody, to Stadium Australia, where the Australians are really carving the Kiwis up. It's 22 points to 0 in the Anzac Test match. As we come down to the tunnels, The aerial pictures, of course, over the stadium tonight, courtesy of the Goodyear blimp. Richie Barnett leading his team back out. They've got troubles on the scoreboard. They've got injury problems as well. I'm just not so sure how serious they are. Craig Smith a problem, Robbie Paul a problem, Matt Rua a problem. Gordon's got the top performers for the first half. Here they are.
Well, for Australia, he could have had 17 top performers, but Brett Kamali has been absolutely brilliant out there tonight. He's run at will. His kicking game's been very good. Gordon Tallis, very strong in the forward, some bustling runs, some good offloads, and Darren Lockyer, safe as ever at the back. And a couple of those runs have been sensational, 40, 50-metre jobs. So plenty of top performers there for the Australian team. And the Kiwis, I found a couple who have tried pretty hard in the first half. Stacey Jones, he really came to life with about 15 minutes to go and started to run the football, and his kicking game was good. Stephen Kearney has tried extra hard tonight. And Matt Rua made that good bust early, was pulled back, but leads the tackle count there with 17 tackles for the Kiwis.
Bill Harrigan just waiting to call time on, and there it is. The Kiwis, right to left second half, and a very big job in front of them with 40 minutes of play remaining. Second play for the Australia, and Wendell Saylor it is, who'll play the ball just inside the 30-metre line. He was very good. He got a try in the first half, but his work cleaning up a couple of opportunities for the Kiwis was just as good as the try. Way now for Kamali and his kicking game. It's an Australian side that you really can't contain. It's no use saying, well, let's shut Fittler down. We've got Kamali as well. He kicks adroitly and as well as Fittler. Once you plug one of the holes, another one opens. That's basically the problem. Here's Vainikolo now.
Ray, I was keen to see how those three players you mentioned, Jason Smith, Kamali and Fittler, fitted in to the attacking lineup and the balance that they were going to come up with. It's been perfect tonight. Nobody's dominated. They've all had plenty of the footy, as we see. A bust made by Pulatua. The first, he got support, but he can't find Robbie Paul.
So the Kiwis starting the second half similar to the first. Clean break as it comes across for Kearney. A floating ball over now for Vainikolo. And Leslie Vainikolo to play it on tackle 5. Jones bombing. Tyron Smith after it, but Darren Lockyer right underneath it. And Bill Harrigan taking it out to the 20-metre line. I think Darren was of the opinion he may have been in the field of play when he caught that.
Yeah, I think Bill might have got a call from the touch judge saying that it was taken in the in-goal area.
From the blimp, here's Darren. And he was certainly in the in-goal area, so the touch judge got it right. Webke. Clash of bodies. Joe Vunganar and Stephen Kearney bouncing away from Webke. Jason Smith. Andrew Voss has been to the sheds. Yes, Andrew.
And Ray, the news, not all that flash out of the New Zealand room. Matt Rua is out of the match with a neck injury. You'll notice Robbie Paul is back out there, but he's also nursing a neck problem, and Craig Smith is less than 100% fit, but he is playing out this second half. From Frank Endicott, he just thought they have to start again. He thought that they created a few chances in the first half and they had to build on that. And from the Australian room, as we watch this Australian attack diffused there by Richie Barnett, I spoke to Greg Bretnell from the Australian coaching staff. The message from Chris Anderson, let's not get too haphazard in attack. Let's just keep the pressure on, play it down New Zealand's end. No injuries in the Aussie room.
So the second tackle for the New Zealanders just outside their 20-metre line. With Tyron Smith from the West Tigers. Kearney. He will be involved in a big match coming up in just over a week. Melbourne v Newcastle. Rogers. Tomorrow, incidentally, on the Wide World of Sports, you'll see that magnificent coverage that the boys always provide. Derby Doncaster Day, live from midday on the one and only tomorrow. $8 million day of racing. Televised by the Nine Network exclusively tomorrow. Now, Kamali. Support is coming. And away goes Gordon Tallis. Tallis scores. Try number 5. Australia 26-0. Kamali. He was through like a will-o'-the-wisp. And then Big Gordon joined in. And he got the big legs pumping.
New Zealand might have made the first bust. But the telling one in the second half has come from Brett Kamali again, getting on the outside of Joe Vunganaa, the little man, the speed man, up against the big forward. And Gordon Tallis, the raging bull on the inside, goes in under the black dot. Straightens up to commit Richie Barnett and finds the support.
Well, he's picked his mark very well tonight, Brett Kamali. He spotted Vunganaa there, put a little in and away on him, just got on the outside of him, ordinary attempted tackle, and away he went. From now, it's just a matter of who was going to get there in support, and it turned out to be Gordon Tallis, the Brisbane Broncos' big barnstorming back rower, and away he goes. On your Gordy, under the sticks.
Ryan Girdler would be spitting chips, and I think he might be.
Well, I'm having a conversation in the background. They're on good terms. They're having a nice time out there.
Gordon's try has been converted. It is Australia 28, New Zealand no score, 6 minutes gone, second half. From Stadium Australia. National Line's coverage of the Test match, the Anzac Day Test match, which bears no similarity at all to last year's scoreboard. They were very competitive in 3 matches last year. There were only 6 points between them. That was the biggest margin in 3 Test matches last year. But now we've got 28-0 on the board, and David Middleton is starting to look for the biggest winning margin by an Australian side. 22-20 when they last met in the Tri-Nations final. 44-0 was the biggest margin for Australia over the Kiwis. Vainikolo with it now.
And I think that's under threat, Ray. I think with the mood that this Australian team are in and the ease that they are cracking the defensive line, could be anything. And here's Richard Swain picking up some good metres in the middle of the ruck.
Smith taking Vunganaa with him. Or Vunganaa hanging in there, hoping for a ball, short ball. Didn't come. Jones punching it down to Matty Rogers. Equalled his dad's point-scoring record for the Sharks against Newcastle on last Friday. He's translated that over to Test match football tonight with another bag of points, including a try. Rodney Howe, Melburnian on Melburnian, and Howe is down for the count. Rodney Howe sickened by a Stephen Kearney shoulder.
I tell you what, Stephen Kearney's a little bit dusty out of it as well, as you can see. But what a shoulder charge. Rodney Howe straight to the deck. An almost delayed reaction with Stephen Kearney.
Well, the Melbourne Storm coach happens to be the Australian coach. He might be saying, come on, boys, ease up. We're playing the Bulldogs here on Tuesday. This one's all over. All credit to Stephen Kearney. He hasn't given up at all.
Shades of Carroll and Harrigan from Marathon a couple of years back. The Kiwis attacking. Craig Smith.
Well, this is where Stacey Jones or one of the Paul brothers have got to look for Rodney Howe in the defensive line and take him on.
Jones turning it in for Henry, Paul, and then Jones. Just about got under the tackle from Sean Timmins. Malcolm Swade back to the right for Henry Paul. Now for Tony Pulatua. And Brad Fittler hangs on to the youngster from Penrith. Swade running the short side. Sailor's there again. Well, he's like the office cleaner, isn't he? Wendell Sailor. Like the local Garbo. He's cleaning everything up back there, frustrating them. 28-0, and Sailor does his job again.
might have missed that tackle, but I do think Richard Swain's been one of the better performers for the Kiwis. Tried hard. Jason Lowry winding up. He runs into Rodney Howe, only just to get a pass away to Richie Barnett.
30-metre line. Go to the blind side. Come back through Craig Smith and gets the ball away. Barnett. Whoa, one of the Paul brothers, Robbie. He was lining his troops up. He didn't have his mind on what was happening with the football. And he was lining up his troops when that ball was given to him, and he puts it down. His 30-metre line. Rogers dummy half. Jason Smith takes it up. Swain is there with Lowry. Hetherington looks for Fletcher. Fletcher ahead. Little dummy off to the outside. Then a step off on their foot to the halfway line for Kamali. Now to try and ignite them. Tallis put down 39 away from the Kiwis line. 28-0. It's been crossed 5 times. Kamali's pass good for Fletcher. Fletcher into a half a gap. And he's put it down.
Brian, you were trying to offload it. You had the ball out in front of you.
Harrigan will pack a scrum just outside the New Zealand 20-metre line.
Yeah, Brian Fletcher trying to get the ball into the right arm and an offload going. Actually knocked out by Henry Paul, but Bill Harrigan ruling that he was attempting to pass.
David Kidwell is about to come into the game. Frank Endicott leaving a long time into the game to use his final interchange player or to give him some game time. Smith to the other Smith. In fact, 3 of them out there. This is Tyron. Jones, Kearney, and Henry Paul just doing a bat along the line. It had to be done very quickly after Vainikolo. Kearney again.
Joe, on your feet.
Jones. Lockyer. Geez, a good player, Stephen Kearney. I watch him. He's just becoming so proficient. His defence is just so hard. Beautiful ball player. Tallis. Stevens got it over the line. Bill Harrigan said no try. Hetherington for Kamali. Kamali to the 40-metre line, calling Fittler on the inside. Fittler's in traffic. Gets it away for Lockyer. Lockyer goes to the defensive line. Stevens takes it ahead inside the 30. Pops it back for Lockyer. Lockyer gets it away for Timmins. Timmins inside ball for Rogers now. He beats one, gets it back. Hetherington pumps it along the line. Now it's with Kamali. Kamali gets it away, and Brad Fittler knocks on.
Great work by the Australians. They're running the Kiwis ragged. Some beautiful passing there. In particular from Darren Lockyer, the way he holds it up, selectively hits the man he wants. Craig Smith off to the blood bin again.
This is Kidwell. Blackmore. I think he's lost it. Yes. I think Kamali's got it, one-on-one. He's penalised him, though. He must have been of the feeling that the tackle had been made.
Well, again, the touchy came to the fore there, Ray. It was on the far side, so difficult for Bill Harrigan to see. And when Brett Kamali was penalised, he got straight up, looked to the touchy, had a word with him, saying it was a fair contest, sir.
Joe Vunganai. Robbie Paul. It's David Kidwell. Good tackle by Fittler. Something about Fittler that doesn't probably draw a lot of attention because he's just a freak of a player in attack. Ball in his hands. Here he is. The intercept special. specialist is on his way. Ryan Girdler. Girdler does it again. How many times?
Yeah, I was delighted to see Ryan Girdler make the Australian team. He had a wonderful year last year and he's continued it on for the Panthers. And he is so good at this. He doesn't put his team under pressure. And he sniffs them out better than anybody. He can sense when an intercept is on. You can see there, he's just up in the defensive line. Play continues. And it's open spaces. Long run to the line, but he doesn't mind that. And just have a look at this. If we freeze it there, you can see him already starting to come up. He comes up into the line as play continues. He knows that it's on. There he is. He's already up amongst them. And it was basically thrown straight to him. He didn't have to reach. It hit him on the chest. Away he goes.
So, Girdler gets his first test try. The intercept king. Rogers will convert from right in front. And to the boys up in the blimp, great stuff. Great stuff. Following it down the park. With the Goodyear blimp and the cameramen up there doing a fine job. Rogers converts 34-0. 55 minutes gone. Back in a moment. We will telecast the Northern Eagles versus Brisbane. As at 34-0, we come back. At the 55th minute, Kamali.
That's one. Here we are. Come on, back.
Kearns. Rodney Howe, they're just checking the state of his concussion. Stevens, how many fingers? What's your name? Where are we? Kearney. Vainakoa. Robbie Paul away for Joe Vunganar. That is the 30-metre line. As the Kiwis attack. Lowry shoveling it for Swade. Jones. Oh dear. Well, total misunderstanding between Henry Paul and Stacey Jones. They're too good to make those sort of mistakes. It's nothing more than a misunderstanding, although both the Paul brothers have had a couple of embarrassing moments with their handling tonight.
Yeah, Ray, they've been guilty of not expecting the football at all times, and it has gone down 3 or 4 times when they had every right to catch the footy. Great pass to Jason Smith.
Now, here he goes again. Brett Kamali and a good tackle, one-on-one from Barnett. Australia, though, threatening the line again. Kamali now, losing the ball. Blackmore with it for the Kiwis. This will be a penalty.
Yeah, I've called 0. The ball's come loose. Doesn't matter, someone did.
I know it's lopsided, 34-0, but you've got to say that Brett Kamali is having a hell of a game. And I mean, a lot of people have been saying, oh gee, was he entitled to the job in front of Andrew Johns? It's not a time to argue that anymore. What we have to do is sit back and delight in the work that he's putting together tonight. Jones. That ball looked to go forward, and it's been called as such. Andrew sideline.
Yeah, I'll tell you what about Brett Kamali, what he is proving again tonight is what a big occasion player he is. Think back to the last time he actually played here at Stadium Australia. That was grand final day when he was the Clive Churchill medal winner, and I wouldn't be surprised tonight if he ends up with the McDonald's $1,000 man of the match.
Well, he'd be up there, and I suppose a lot of people wishing this game was a lot closer, that the Kiwis are putting up a better effort, but it's just good to be here and marvel at how well the Australians are playing and the skill and talent which they do possess.
Fittler. Stevens.
Jason, you pull it. Stevens in there with you. 2-on-1.
So the tap keeping the pot boiling for Robbie Kerr. 15 from the line. Hill. Fletcher. Desperate tackle by Henry Paul. Hetherington. He's lost the ball. And Kearney made to play it now. 8 metres out from the Kiwi line. Gee, look at this defence. They're really driving, aren't they? Imagine being underneath that. 34-0, second play, third play now, 59 minutes gone, and they're going nowhere. The Australians have probably lifted a gear in defence. They haven't had, I suppose, a lot of it to do. Swain. Fifth tackle, and they are 22 metres away from where they started. This will need to be a good kick. Paul sending it down. It was a good kick. 25 away from the Aussie line. With Lockyer. His ankle has stood up to the week of training. Sailor. Try scorer. One of 6 in the game. Fittler. Ooh, driven down. Gee. Strong tackle, Robbie Paul. 17, Chris McKenna. Another of the try scorers. Away from a fragile tackle. Pulled down by Big Joe Vangana. And Chris unable to continue. What's happened here is teaching at the... Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Straight away there's plenty of concern. The left ankle you saw got caught in under the tackler. Kearns calling to the bench to get him off.
What a mixed bag he's had. Chris McKenna debuted for Australia. Scored a try. And that doesn't look very nice to me, although the fact that they're bringing him off like that might not be the worst news. 34-0 at the 61st minute. So the Sharks utility player, Chris McKenna, from the park. As the Australians take it just inside the 40-metre line. Kiwis end of the ground. Fittler a dummy half for a moment before Kamali has put in a skyscraper of a kick. Up they go, down they come. The Kiwis are with it. Lowry back for Blackmore. Just looking at the scoreboard, 34-0 reminds me that these two sides, you'd have to think, were the favourites for the World Cup in November. Have a look at the gap between them. An inspection on the leg of McKenna.
Yeah, Ray, in all fairness to the New Zealand side, it has been a less than ideal preparation for them. You know, they would have loved to have had their English connection out here and a longer period of time with the players. And obviously come November, they'll be able to put in a lot more preparation, so I think that they'll be a far better side than what we've seen here tonight.
So the last tackle. Jones, a little kick looking for the Paul brothers. They were there together. Unfortunately, there was a green and gold jumper there before them, belonging to Brad Fittler. Wendell Sailor. He will feature in the match next Friday night that we will televise from ANZ. Brisbane v Parramatta. One of Brisbane's bogey sides. Tallis. Very close to the sideline. I thought they might have gone on with it there, the Kiwis, and given a penalty. Kamali, Kearns, Hetherington, Kamali, kicking back into the in goal. Beautiful weight on it. Barnett. That's nice work. Vainikolo back into the field of play. Adventurous. David Kidwell. And the weight on that kick was lovely. He got it off the outside edge of the boot. A little bit of Ricky Stewart about it. Penalty has gone to the black and whites. Offside against Jason Stevens. As Jones finds the line on the western side. Craig Smith. Oh, that's good work. And then around the corner from Kidwell. Is it? Yeah, David Kidwell's pass going over the sideline. They're trying to generate something, even though the hopes are forlorn.
Well, it's David Kidwell. He's trying something around the corner pass, hoping that Vaynerkola would be there, but the big fella had started to drift back inside. A lot of handling errors in the game tonight, but it's been pretty open, exciting rugby league, especially from the Aussies.
Lockyer spreading the ball early and wide to Saylor. It had a little punctuation mark about it, though. Rogers. He's come away clutching at his thigh. Girdler losing it. And Nigel Vunganar will play it 30-metre line, hit his own end of the park for Pulatua to make the 40-metre line.
Been very good, Pulatua. Came into the game fairly late off the interchange bench, and he's been a real handful for the Australian defence every time he's touched the football. Probably Paul takes it inside the Australian half. Still looking for their first point. Stacey Jones will pass to David Kidwell, but he's met immediately by Matt Rogers and Sean Timmins.
Callis coming in as the third tackler, cleaning everybody up. What's the story on Chris McKenna, Andrew?
Well, the word from the Australian Dr. Roy Saunders is that Chris McKenna, first and foremost, he won't be back tonight. He's confident there's no fracture. At the best, it's only strained ligament, but at the worst, it could be torn ligament damage. But as I say, he will not be back tonight, Chris McKenna.
The Paul brothers now, with Henry playing at 40 metres out on tackle 5. Jones goes back to the touchline before putting a kick in. And Lockyer was right underneath it, so it certainly wasn't a kick that bothered anybody. Lockyer through and away, back outside the 40-metre line, own into the ground. Hill, 7 line breaks to 1 in favour of the Kangaroos. Which it is right and proper to call them these days. Webke. Once upon a time, unless you're a member of the team that represented Australia in Great Britain and France, you weren't allowed to be called a kangaroo. These boys these days carry that name, and rightly so. Timmins. 4th tackle gone. 5th gone. Kamali. Fiddler. Face ball. Girdler puts a kick in for Saylor. Saylor's in behind them. Saylor's got his hands on it. Oh! Did a touch anyway.
Yeah, a pretty ordinary collision over there. Both boys are down. Barnett and Saylor. Richie's copped the worst of it. Good little chip from Ryan Girdler. Saylor comes through. His foot was in touch when he kicked it. That's why the touchy's got his flag up. Oh, whisker.
Gee, it's a nasty head collision, isn't it? Both players travelling at speed. And, sickening blow.
Dear. Barnett has taken this right on the cheekbone. There's nothing wrong with Wendell. Richie has copped it. Blood pouring out of him. Andrew.
It's a little sadistic to mention it, but believe it or not, Ray, it's Richie Barnett's birthday today too. Leading the Kiwis, they trail 34-0, and he's got one heck of a headache right now.
Looks like one broken nose, I would say, as well. I've got to applaud the Australian selectors as well. I think every player out there, well, I know that every player out there has justified their selection. The players like Jason Smith and Jason Hetherington shown faith in. They've had a season punctuated with some injuries. They've both been wonderful tonight. Sean Timmins has been excellent in the centres. appearing be with Girdler. And I think that a tremendous performance also from Scott Hill, a young man who has not even played State of Origin football yet. He will this year, no doubt about that. He's been wonderful coming off the bench, and when you look at interchange benches these days, you've got to say, well, we want them to have an impact in the game, and Hill has done exactly that.
Crowd tonight, 26,023. That's about what they predicted. 26,023. 66.5 minutes gone, 34-0 Australia, and Richie Barnett with a broken nose. Yes, you mentioned State of Origin, Peter, and of course that is exclusive. It's live and exclusive to the 9 network, the wide world of sports. Stadium Australia will host Game 1 on May 10. And that's where you get your tickets. Ticketek 9266 4800. 9266 4800. Game 1 of the State of Origin, live and exclusive on 9, but you should be here with the other 109,000 people. Sunday's footy show, hosted by the Fat Man as the Medicab comes out for Richie. 11 o'clock on Sunday. Guests include Jeff Tuvey, Craig Smith with headache, Jason Hetherington, legend of league Royce Simmons. Talking of Jason Hetherington, I was going to make the point, Peter, you were talking about congratulating the selectors and you touched on a few of the players. Great to see a regular number 9 dummy half in the job, and I do think Hetherington has provided Kamali with quick ball, which has helped Kamali's game. It's helped everybody. I'm a great rep for the number 9 that plays there every weekend, getting the job in the rep sides, and Jason finished up with it eventually, thank God.
Now I understand where you're coming from, but you know, Andrew Johns would have come in and he'd have done a great job there as well, but it's been a hot field, hasn't it, the hookers? You have a look at Jason getting the nod tonight, but Jeff Tuvey would have been in contention. Darren Sanders had a great year for the Tigers.
There's a heap
Craig
more.
Gower, of course, and probably have missed a couple. Danny Medeiros has been good.
Exactly. Luke Prittis wouldn't be out of place, neither would Dean Treaster, but Jason got the job. He was the incumbent, and I maintain that having a person that knows dummy half work has helped, particularly the number 7, Kamali, to have the game that he's had. Well, gee, Richie is really losing some blood out there, isn't he?
This looks like a shocking break. It's been bleeding for 5 minutes.
So the Kiwis with Jones starting something down the eastern touchline. They've gathered him in though, and that'll be a penalty and probably the bin. Penalty to New Zealand. Yeah, not worrying about the bin.
A great bust made, but good cover defence, wasn't it, from Brad Fittler, and then Gordon Tallis out of the scrum.
Tour. Craig Smith. And the dust settles on this test match. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a story of great bravado surrounding him. Tyron Smith almost through. I fancy he's played this game with concussion and injury. Craig Smith I'm talking about. Now, Lavia's pass. Bainacolo, but it's gone forward. Bill Harrigan's called it back.
Cesar Levy has taken over the ball playing role. He spins one out, and it's knocked forward there by Robbie Paul. No luck at any stage of this match for the Kiwis.
Tackle, and you know who's made failed to make 31 of them. Dropped a lot of tackles, particularly first half.
That's always going to get you beaten, Ray, especially at this level. I'm sure that Frank Endicott, coming out of this game, he will be most disappointed with the ease that the Australians have scored. If you're going to concede trial, here's Stacey Jones nearly getting an intercept. We play on 6 again for Matt Rogers. But you don't mind conceding tries if the opposition have had to work for them and they get them through skill. But when you drop a couple of bombs and a simple missed tackles one-on-one, then that's hard to stomach.
Webke. Chris Anderson is running with 4 forwards onto the bench. 2 of those forwards, though, you could utilise them easily. Scott Hill and Chris McKenna, but Stevens, Kearns, Webke, Howe combination. It's a juggernaut that just keeps coming at you. Typical of Melbourne, really. Sean Timmins, the line is inside. Oh, he's done a pirouette to nobody. Save the last waltz for me. And Sean Timmins hasn't got a partner.
And he deserves a try too. He's played really well tonight. In both attack and defence, he's taken them on. And some good hands here through the back line by the Aussies. Good ball, that one. Good decoy as well by Jason Smith. And Timmins got through some tragic defence. And then the dummy, roundabout he goes, round the hurdy-gurdy.
Lovely pirouette.
Lovely. Good stuff.
Yeah, just have a look at these attempted tackles from, firstly, Tony Pulatua. That's him coming and missing now. And then Stephen Kearney, who I've got to say has been absolutely outstanding in a beaten team tonight. And then the little see, the throws the dummy, Robbie Paul. Well, he had 3 or 4 players coming at him. You can forgive him for that, I suppose, but he still would like to see him tackle somebody. And Sean Timmins swivels around to score, but all the lead-up was done. The Australians keeping the ball alive and eventually Timmins finding his way through.
Lovely touch of ballerina there from Sean Timmins. Rogers converts. Where are we now? 40 points to 0, 71 minutes gone. Bossy from the blimp.
Well, not quite from the blimp, but looking at the blimp shot, Sean Timmins is one player who tonight has really taken a giant stride towards booking a place in that World Cup squad at the end of the year. He's only playing his 3rd test tonight. The centre positions were one spot that was totally in the balance as of, well, 2 or 3 weeks ago. But Sean Timmins came with a rush and he's lived up to expectations tonight.
Shallow kick-off from the Kiwis. Matt Rogers with 16 points now. He's 2 points away from equaling the record by an Australian against the Kiwis. So he's having a real run of records, isn't he? Matt Rogers, if he can get another couple of points. John McDonald, that's Crackers McDonald. I think he was the first Origin coach, wasn't he?
He was back in 1980, yeah. Mick Cronin and Rod Wishart, all with 18 points. And here's a chance he might get to level it very soon, as the Aussies are on the attack.
And 44-0 was the biggest winning margin, or 44 points is the biggest winning margin by an Australian team over New Zealand. So that's only 4 points away. Scott Hill, 22 metres away. Lockyer down the blind. Tallis coming back in, flopping it down. Kearns pushing it away. Hetherington on. Intercepted by Stephen Kearney. Kearney to the halfway. Kearney to the 40-metre line. Jones supports. What a game he's had, as Peter said, in a beaten team. Stephen Kearney. Kidwell, 22 out. Robbie Paul back to the blind side for Kidwell. Timmins shuts him down on right side defence. 8-3 the line breaks in favour of Australia now. Put one down for Kearney. Smith, they're close to the line. Look at that. Swain's pass long for Jones, shorter for Levere. 10-metre line. Still a chance. This is the last. Jones back. Tyron Smith getting underneath it! And he may have got it, has he not? No, it's with the Aussies.
Well, a late rush here by the Kiwis. Kearney, of course. Craig Smith has also, he's tried his guts out tonight. And a little kick here, back towards the Gold Cup post. And taken by Jason Smith.
We come back. Direct with Rogers. 40 metres out. Lockyer for Sailor. 4 points away from equaling the record. Tallis. Put down eventually by Blackmore. Now, Kamali Fittler. Fittler, he'll do it. He's there. 44-0. Kick to come for Rogers to equal and for Australia to break the record.
And quite fitting that the Australian captain, Brad Fittler, gets the try and extends that to the 44 points that we've been talking about. Matt Rogers from the restart, they defused the bomb, picked up plenty of metres, and then again a simple task for the Australian attacking play, getting on the outside of a defender. He frees it there, you can see the man on the inside, just too slow to come across. Fittler slides in between some defenders as play continues. David Kidwell couldn't put it with Fittler, and he carried the tackle of Robbie Paul over in the corner.
44-0. Brad Fittler scores his second try of the night. In 1991, Australia beat New Zealand 44-0 at the Sydney Football Stadium. Now Matt Rogers to equal the record for most points scored by an Australian against the Kiwis. Got it away. I think he's got it. now. Yes, he has. He's got the record. He's equaled it. So it's 46-0. Biggest winning margin by the Australians. Andrew.
Oh, what do you say, Ray? Stop the fight. Stop it right now. Brad Fittler gets his second try for the night. The Australians just far too good, and really time for celebration. I mean, the crowd's hung around here to watch stuff like this from Matt Rogers. 2 weeks in a row getting records. Matt Rogers bangs it over. Another two for him, and he rewrites the books.
So Rogers last Friday equalled his dad's record for the Sharks, 26 points in a game. And tonight, his name down alongside McDonald, Cronin and Wishart. This Australian team has broken the record. Lockyer, the pass to Rogers.
He meant that, Ray. He meant that. How good is he? Have a look at this. I hope you see it, Ray. What a he's done a flick pass to himself. That's not easy, Ray. That's her hands up. A flick pass.
Woof.
Oh, outstanding stuff. Play on. Let him go.
The things that he can do. A little show of congratulations from Leslie Nicola. Nice touch. Smith to another Smith. McDonald's, of course, our Friday night's man of the match donor. We thank them again, making $1,000 available for the man of the match in the Anzac-Test. Jones, Vangana, inside ball, up the middle. Inside, 3 minutes to go. Lowry, away. Jones, across. Kearney, a fend, and then he loses the ball. He's appealing to Bill Harrigan, and Harrigan says, no, play on. Jason Smith. Ooh, gee. Lowry got him. Jason wasn't looking, and he really picked him off. A lovely presentation before the game, reminding us of the fallen. As Scott Hill makes a break, Kamali's coming. Kamali's away. The chase is on. Kamali chased by Jones, gets the ball away. Rogers will score. Rogers is over. It came off his leg. No knock on. Rogers scores, and he takes those three names away from the record book.
And I'll tell you what, he's got a long time to go in his career, and he'll break plenty of more records in that period of time. Unfortunately, such a simple bust once again from Scott Hill. Stephen Kearney didn't have the speed. He must be out on his feet. But just have a look at how Matt Rogers does not panic when that pass comes. He deliberately lets it hit his foot, puts it into the in-goal area and scores the try. A great effort for him to back up way on the inside anyway. But Scott Hill again creating, and beautiful finishing from Rogers, just keeping a cool head at all times.
Wasn't it lovely how Brett Kamali just held that pass up right till the death? He knew he was going to get nailed. He held it up, perfect pass, although it hit the the knees of Matty Rogers, and he knows he's done something special here tonight. He's got his mum and dad in the crowd. They must be so proud of him.
Well, I mentioned earlier that his mum has been battling ill health, Carol, and Matt dedicated last Friday night to his mum, and I'm sure he'll make a similar dedication tonight. This is for 24 points, most points. In a test match went to Des White, the New Zealander. He got 22 in 1952. So this is for 24, so Matt Rogers is about to break another record from right in front. He converts his own try. There goes Des White. There goes Crackers McDonald, Michael Cronin, Rod Wisher. They're all gone. Falling to Matthew Rogers. Andrew.
What a night, and aren't we seeing some emerging superstars? Certainly Scott Hill, Brett Camorley arise on the international stage, and I reckon Matt Rogers is already there. He was a hero in the Tri-Nations final last year, got a whole swag full of points, and tonight, well, he's taken home luggage like you wouldn't believe. Another 2 to Matt Rogers. It is well and truly over. Full-time 52-0.
52-0, and Matt Rogers scores 50 points in a week of rugby league. 26 and 24. Australia defeating New Zealand 52 points to 0. Tremendous Australian effort. Records falling all around us. Matt Rogers, 2 of those records. Chris McKenna, one of the wounded. Biggest winning margin by an Australian team over the New Zealanders, eclipsing 44-0 in 1991. 52 points to 0. Australia defeating New Zealand tonight. We will take a break. Then Peter and Paul Harrigan will wrap it up. And Andrew will have the McDonald's $1,000 man of the match for you. Thank you to the Goodyear Blimp boys. Well done. As we take this break, we'll be back at the Stadium Australia in just a moment.
Kangaroos have humbled the New Zealand Kiwis here at Stadium Australia in this year's Anzac-Test match to the tune of 52 points to 0. They scored 9 tries, a swag of them, with Brad Fittler and Rogers getting a double. McKenna, Saylor, Tallis, Girdler and Timmins all crossed. Matt Rogers, a big night for him. He kicked 8 from 9. While they went close on a couple of occasions, the Kiwis unable to bother the scorer. Tremendous performance tonight from the Australians. 17 great players. Made it fairly difficult to pick the man of the match, but we really couldn't go past this man who is with Andrew Voss.
And Peter, for the test match, McDonald's have put up $1,000 for our man of the match, and the man of the match is the Australian number 7, Brett Camorley. 52-0. Test matches aren't meant to be like that.
No, I suppose they're not. You know, it goes to show we're a great team we got this year. You know, the forwards went forward brilliantly in the first half, and it just gave their backs plenty of room. And once we started getting them to go back, the talent you got in the team, they'll score points.
Brett, if there was a turning point, you could almost say it came in the first 5 minutes. The Kiwis had a disallowed try, then a forward pass ruling against them, and from there, everything the Australians touched turned to goal.
Yeah, you're right. No, I suppose we were pretty lucky. If they score, you know, they always tend to fire up, which maybe would have been a very hard game, you know. But you know, we hung in there, and I think to our credit, we forced a few turnovers with our aggression, you know. So, you know, they probably had a few things let off, but I think we worked hard enough to get the points.
Brett, describe the personal satisfaction for you tonight. I mean, the real dogfight to get the number 7 spot from Andrew Johns. When he had to pull out from injury, he was named at hooker but pulled out. But it must be just a great feeling for you tonight.
Yeah, you know, it is a good feeling. You know, I was just happy to be in the team. So, you know, I suppose it just goes to show I've worked hard to try to get this spot from Joey, and you know, hopefully I can hold it down now. I play him in a couple of weeks, so hopefully it'll be a good challenge.
All right, I hope you're not doing anything in October when the World Cup comes around. $1,000 from McDonald. Brett Camorley, congratulations.
Thanks, Bossy. Thanks, McDonald's.
And very well deserved. Tremendous performance from Camorley tonight. When quality players are given an opportunity, they grab it with both hands, and that's exactly what the number 7 did tonight. And doesn't the future of Australian Rugby League look good? Scott Hill, tremendous coming off the interchange bench tonight. Jason Smith, he's had some injury problems. Didn't seem to inhibit it at all tonight. And the forwards, led by Shane Webke, just too much for the Kiwis to handle. Tallis, again unstoppable. And Wendell Saylor, he's enjoying himself. and we busted him. That's all right that Wendell's not too disappointed about that. And Paul, on the subject of disappointment, I'm bitterly disappointed we didn't see a better contest, but I suppose in saying that, it probably taken away from the quality of this Australian performance.
Yeah, Pete, the Kiwis were tragic tonight, no doubt about it. The Aussies, they haven't played better in a test for a long, long time. From number 1, Darren Lockyer, through to number 17, Chris McKenna, it was a great team effort. And let's not forget the job that Chris Anderson, their coach, has done in just 5 days, putting that team together to play the football they did tonight. But in particular, Brett Camorley, what a match he had. Defensively, they said, well, we'll target Brett Camorley. The Kiwis, well, they targeted him and he came up with some great tackles early, and then his attacking game just flowed on from that, setting up tries for players like Gordon Tallis. He made breaks at will, and his kicking game was first-rate, Peter. A great team performance, in particular, though, Brett Camorley, he's a great player.
Yeah, the Kiwis, they had their moments tonight, Chief, but what do we make of their performance overall?
I think pretty well, as I said, at half-time. Their preparation was pretty poor, and you could tell straight away, you know, just organisation with the ball. The defence was pretty terrible. But they did have a lot of players who were unable for selection due to injury. They had a lot of injuries during the game, so they can take that into consideration for the World Cup. But all in all, a couple of good performances. I thought Steve Kearney played well. He's got a lot of heart. I played against him in test matches, and he never turns it up. Thought Craig Smith played okay too, but all in all, pretty disappointing.
And only moments ago, the Australian skipper Brad Fittler was presented with the Bill Kelly Memorial Trophy from Major General Peter Cosgrove. Brad Fittler captaining the team for the 14th time, and the spoils continue to come his way. Tonight again, confirming his status as one of the premier players in World Rugby League. Tremendous performance, appreciated by a crowd of just over 26,000, and it's an obviously delighted 17-man squad. Paul pointed out Chris Anderson's done a great job in a short period of time with these players, and they will go to the World Cup in November. Short price favourites to continue their superiority. Plenty of action here at Stadium Australia tonight, but tomorrow our attention turns to horse racing, one of the great days. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage. On behalf of the Channel 9 crew from Homebush, we wish you a very good night.
This has been another presentation.